Millionaires are not born, they are spoken into being. Beloved soul, let this truth strike through the fog of worldly teaching that has told you wealth is reserved for the few, the lucky, or the ruthlessly ambitious. Let it pierce through the lie that you must toil endlessly, sacrifice your joy, or compromise your soul to attain riches. I tell you this day, in the authority of divine law, wealth is spoken before it is seen. Every man or woman walking this earth, clothed in abundance, has, knowingly or unknowingly, declared it into existence with their word. Florence Scovel Shinn unveiled this eternal principle. Your word is your wand. When you understand this, money ceases to be a prize won through competition and becomes a natural result of spiritual alignment. Millionaires do not fight for wealth. They command it. They do not chase prosperity. They call it forth. The one who masters the power of the spoken word masters supply itself, for money is not a master but a servant, drawn irresistibly to faith-filled speech. Think of it. You have been told to labor harder, save more diligently, network endlessly, and yet your results falter because your speech has not changed. You speak of lack and lack answers. You voice fear and fear delivers. You declare struggle and struggle obeys. But there is a sentence, a divine decree, that shifts this entirely. A sentence so potent, so spiritually charged, that when spoken with unwavering faith, it unlocks heaven's storehouse and pours rivers of abundance into your life. The wealthy of spirit know this truth. Wealth is first an inner decree before it is an outer demonstration. The tongue holds the keys to every vault, every opportunity, every divine connection you could ever need. The scriptures declare, death and life are in the power of the tongue. The words you speak either open the gates of prosperity or keep them barred. This is not superstition, it is law. Beloved, I will not give you empty motivation today. I will not offer worldly tactics that wither with the next shift in markets or fortune. I will place in your hands the spiritual blueprint that has transformed beggars into millionaires, the same divine principle Florence spoke to those who came to her destitute and left clothed in riches and favor. And this transformation did not take years of striving. It happened in the instant they shifted their word from lack to divine command. Prepare your soul, for you are about to hear the sentence that has lifted men and women from despair into overflowing wealth, not by human cunning, not by manipulation or force, but by spiritual dominion through the spoken word. Wealth has ears, and tonight you will speak in a tone it cannot resist. Millionaires are made not by chance, not by bloodline, not by luck, but by a voice that dares to decree what divine law has already promised. I am rich, I am supplied, and my prosperity is unshakable. Beloved soul, let us pause here and acknowledge the ache that has led you to seek this truth. Perhaps you have tried everything the world has offered: seminars, endless financial advice, the grind of long hours and relentless effort, every book and vision board promising wealth just beyond your grasp. Yet still, money slips through your fingers like water you cannot hold. You have prayed, you have pleaded, you have hustled harder than ever before, and still the weight of unpaid bills, mounting debt, and the quiet shame of under-earning presses heavy upon your spirit. You may know what it is to walk into a store and count the cost before you allow yourself to dream, to stare at opportunities meant for you, but believe you lack the means to claim them. Perhaps you've hidden your desires for beautiful things, for comfort, for freedom of time and choice, because you feared others would call it greed or foolishness. Deep within, you know you were made for more than scraping by and surviving from one anxious moment to the next. But every attempt to break free has ended in disappointment, and with every failure, doubt has grown louder. Maybe wealth is for others, not for me. Maybe I'm destined to struggle no matter how hard I try. This belief has silently built walls around your imagination, chaining your spirit to limitation. And yet, something in you refuses to die. There is a sacred ember that will not be extinguished, a knowing that life is meant to overflow with good, that God did not create you to live beneath your divine inheritance. It is this ember that has brought you here. It is this longing for true wealth, not fleeting riches or temporary gains, but abundance anchored in spiritual law that whispers in your heart. And I tell you now, that whisper is not fantasy. It is the voice of infinite spirit calling you to remember who you are. You are not a pauper scrambling for crumbs. You are a divine heir to the limitless supply of the universe. Your financial struggle is not proof of divine neglect, but a sign that your word has been misaligned with your spiritual authority. Beloved, I see your tears, your sleepless nights wondering why the breakthrough has not come. I feel the silent prayer that asks, God, what am I missing? And I tell you the truth. You have missed nothing but this. Your tongue has been speaking against your own riches. The power to command wealth has always been yours, but fear and false teaching have silenced it. Tonight, that silence ends. Tonight, the voice of your spirit will rise again, and you will speak as one who is no longer begging for scraps, but commanding the banquet table already prepared for you. Hear me. Your longing for abundance is not sin. It is holy. It is divine dissatisfaction with a life too small for your soul. And the ache you feel, the restless yearning to finally live free from financial chains, is the signal that you are ready, not to try harder, not to toil longer, but to speak differently, to declare with bold faith the wealth that already belongs to you by eternal covenant. This is the turning point. When you stop chasing and start decreeing, the tide will shift. The sentence you will soon learn has transformed the poor into prosperous, not because they were chosen, but because they chose to speak what heaven had already decreed. And now, beloved, it is your turn to speak it and see your world transformed. Beloved soul, now that we have touched the raw edges of your longing and uncovered the silent ache for financial freedom, it is time to reveal the unchanging law that governs wealth, supply, and abundance. For the world has told you that money is earned solely through labor, through relentless striving, through clever schemes and unending effort. Yet Florence Scovel Shinn proclaimed with divine certainty, "Your word is your wand." This is not a quaint phrase or poetic flourish. It is a spiritual law as absolute as gravity. The wealth you seek does not originate in the sweat of your brow or in the frantic chase for opportunity. It is first conceived, commanded, and delivered through the power of your spoken word. To understand this, you must see yourself not as a creature begging for scraps from the universe, but as a creator standing at the helm of spiritual law. Every word you speak is a seed cast into the unseen soil of your subconscious mind, and that soil is eternally fertile. It does not question, it does not reason, it simply produces in kind what has been planted. Words of fear yield barrenness. Words of struggle grow into more struggle. Words of divine command bring forth rivers of supply, wealth without sorrow, and opportunities that unfold like heaven's own blueprint. The law is not partial, it is not swayed by status or education or the accidents of birth. It moves in exact response to faith-filled speech. The scriptures declare, "Thou shalt also decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee." Job 22:28. Notice, it does not say you shall wish for a thing or hope for it in silence. It says you must decree it, speak it with authority, and the universe itself. Every spiritual force, every unseen current, will set to work making it so. Think of the air around you. Though invisible, it carries every sound, every vibration of your voice. So too does the unseen carry the vibrations of your declarations, sending them forth into spiritual law where they begin shaping substance into form. Florence taught that man's word links him with omnipotence, that through speech you reach into divine substance and mold it into visible wealth. Beloved, you may have wondered why affirmations have failed you, why positive thinking brought no real change. It is because they were spoken without true understanding of spiritual authority. To speak in alignment with divine law is not to parrot phrases with timid hope. It is to issue commands as a royal heir to infinite riches, knowing they must be obeyed. Wealth is not attracted by desperation or empty repetition. It is called forth by the unwavering voice of spiritual dominion. Picture this. Wealth is like an echo in the vast halls of the universe. When you speak words of lack, the halls answer with more lack. But when you stand firm and declare, I am supplied, my riches are endless, large sums of money come to me now, that same echo returns carrying opportunities, divine connections, and channels of provision beyond human calculation. It may seem mysterious to the mind, trained only in material reasoning, but in spirit it is precise, scientific, and unfailing. From this moment, you must understand. You are not chasing wealth. It is chasing you, waiting only for the clear decree of your tongue to unlock the gates of divine supply. The sentence that makes millionaires is not a magic trick or secret formula, it is an expression of eternal law. When you speak it, believing it as truth, heaven and earth must conspire to deliver its promise. You need not know how. You only need to speak, and the law will handle every unseen detail. Beloved soul, let us now rise higher and see wealth as it truly is, not as a fragile human construct, not as a prize fought over in scarcity and competition, but as an expression of divine law woven into the very fabric of creation. From the beginning of time, Infinite Spirit has declared abundance as man's natural inheritance. Scripture speaks plainly. It is the Lord thy God that giveth thee power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant. Deuteronomy 8:18. This is not a suggestion or a rare blessing bestowed on a chosen few. It is a divine covenant, an unbreakable promise sealed by spiritual law. Wealth is not withheld from you by heaven. It is withheld only by fear, false belief, and words that contradict your divine identity. Florence Scovel Shinn unveiled this eternal truth when she said that man must stop asking and start decreeing. For to ask as a beggar implies separation from supply, while to decree as a divine heir acknowledges oneness with the infinite storehouse of riches that God has already prepared. The moment you speak wealth as a divine fact rather than a distant hope, you step into covenant alignment with the source itself. This is why millionaires, whether they know spiritual law or not, often speak with certainty and authority about money. They declare what they expect, and it flows to them. How much more, then, can you, a conscious co-creator with spirit, speak from the authority of divine covenant and watch wealth manifest swiftly and miraculously? Understand this deeply. Prosperity is not a gamble or a stroke of luck. It is not the result of grasping, competing, or bending moral law for gain. True prosperity is the outworking of divine law, as natural and effortless as gravity. The same law that keeps planets in orbit is the law that governs your supply. The same God who clothes the lilies and feeds the sparrows has ordained that you live in overflowing abundance, free from the chains of poverty and fear. There is no holiness in lack. There is no virtue in limitation. Lack is only the shadow cast by words of disbelief, a temporary cloud passing before the eternal sun of divine provision. Picture a great river flowing endlessly from the throne of heaven, pure and inexhaustible, branching into countless streams of opportunity, ideas, divine appointments, and channels of wealth. This river is your true source of supply. It cannot run dry, it cannot be blocked, it cannot be stolen. When you speak the millionaire's sentence in faith, you do not create wealth from nothing. You open the gates that have always been there, allowing this divine river to pour into your experience. The wealth of heaven rushes to fill every void, to meet every demand, to establish you as a living testament to God's unfailing abundance. Beloved, release forever the image of a distant God, reluctantly granting blessings in response to your toil. Wealth is not earned in divine law, it is claimed. It is recognized and spoken into visibility by those who understand their covenant inheritance. Your spoken word is the key that unlocks this treasury, and the moment you lift your voice with spiritual authority and declare, God is my unfailing supply, riches flow to me now under grace and in perfect ways, you are not asking for wealth, you are enforcing divine law, and heaven itself must hasten to fulfill your decree. From this moment, see yourself not as a seeker of wealth, but as a covenant heir to inexhaustible riches. Speak not as one hoping to be blessed, but as one who knows they already are. The sentence you will soon learn is no mere phrase. It is the verbal embodiment of this covenant, a spiritual decree that aligns you with divine law and makes visible on earth what has always been true in heaven. You are supplied, you are prosperous, and your abundance knows no end. Beloved soul, before we can step fully into the radiant flow of divine wealth, we must rip out the root that has long strangled your abundance, the ancient and poisonous lie of lack. This lie has woven itself into human thought for generations, convincing millions that scarcity is real, that supply is limited, and that one must claw and fight for every scrap of provision. It is this lie that whispers to you in quiet moments of fear, there is never enough. Money is hard to come by. Opportunities are few. Wealth belongs to others, but not to you. These words have been spoken over you by the world, repeated unconsciously by your own tongue, and imprinted deeply in your subconscious mind. And because spiritual law is unfailing, the word you speak, whether by deliberate decree or fearful muttering, shapes your experience without resistance. Florence Scovel Shinn saw this clearly and declared, "Man must stop his words of lack and limitation, for they are the seeds of poverty and want. The invisible forces that govern wealth do not decide for you, they obey your word. And when that word speaks of scarcity, of unworthiness, of delay, spiritual law cannot help but reproduce that exact condition. The universe has never denied you wealth. It has only mirrored back the story you have been telling about money. Let us unmask this illusion. Look around you. Can you truly believe in lack when you see the infinite stars blanketing the heavens, the countless grains of sand on a single beach, the billions of leaves on a forest's trees? The very nature of creation is overflow. Spirit is not a miser doling out blessings in crumbs. Spirit is an eternal fountain, a boundless ocean of supply. There has never been a shortage of wealth, only a shortage of faith-filled words to claim it. Think of the sun. It shines without depletion, pouring light and warmth freely to all who stand in its rays. Yet if one hides in the shadows or closes their eyes, does it mean the sun has failed to shine? No, it only means they have turned from its light. So it is with divine wealth. When you believe in lack, when you speak words of limitation, you turn from the radiance of infinite supply. The flow has not stopped. You have simply stepped out of alignment with it. Florence told the story of a woman who lived in constant financial struggle, every thought and every conversation steeped in fear of not enough. She would often say, "I can't afford this. I'll never have enough money." These words, repeated like a chant, built invisible walls around her, cutting off channels of prosperity that heaven had already prepared. But the moment she learned to replace these words with Florence's declaration, "God is my unfailing supply, and large sums of money come to me, quickly, under grace, in perfect ways," her reality shifted. Divine ideas rushed in, unexpected channels opened, and wealth flowed to her in ways she could never have engineered through toil. Beloved, understand this. Lack is not a divine decree. It is a man-made illusion. Poverty is not a spiritual truth. It is a shadow cast by fearful words. You were never meant to serve under this shadow. You were born to walk in the light of unlimited supply. And the very moment you stop voicing struggle, Stop reinforcing the lie of scarcity with your tongue. You begin to dismantle the walls that have held you captive. Tonight, you will cast down this ancient lie. You will speak no more of lack or limitation. You will refuse to lend your voice to the stories that keep you small. Instead, you will rise in spiritual authority and declare the millionaire's sentence, a divine decree that replaces the old script of poverty with the living word of abundance. And as you speak it, the false shadow of lack will dissolve, revealing what has always been true. You stand already in the midst of infinite riches, waiting only for your word to claim them as your own. Beloved soul, now that we have exposed the lie of lack and stripped it of its false authority, let us turn our gaze to the radiant truth that transforms paupers into princes and beggars into millionaires, not by chance, not by human cunning, but by the divine power of a spoken sentence. Imagine for a moment that heaven is not silent, not distant, but structured like a great vault overflowing with limitless supply, golden opportunities, flourishing ideas, inexhaustible streams of wealth prepared for you since before the foundation of the world. This vault is not locked by fate or guarded by cruel chance. It is sealed only by one thing, the unspoken word of command. Think of it as walking into a grand bank, walls lined with treasures beyond imagination. The banker does not deny you entry out of malice. He merely waits for you to speak the code, the single phrase that identifies you as the rightful heir to these riches. Without the code, you remain outside, peering through glass at blessings that seem reserved for others. But the moment you utter that one sentence of divine alignment, the locks click open, the gates swing wide, and wealth rushes toward you as though a dam has broken and released a roaring, unstoppable river. Florence Scovel Shinn spoke this secret plainly. What God has done for others, He now does for me and more. She understood that spiritual law is no respecter of persons. What is given to one is available to all who dare to speak the decree of truth. The millionaire's sentence is not a plea for favor, not a timid request for scraps. It is a royal proclamation, a command issued from the throne of spiritual authority. The words carry the vibration of certainty, and because divine law responds unfailingly to faith-filled speech, the universe bends to obey. Picture each word of this sentence as a golden key. The first key unlocks the flow of supply. The second key opens doors to divine ideas. The third key summons channels of opportunity from unexpected directions. Each syllable turns a lock. Each declaration unseals a chamber of wealth long stored for you in heaven's treasury. As you speak, invisible forces move like master craftsmen behind the curtain of the seen world, aligning events, orchestrating meetings, delivering resources, and making straight the way for abundance to flow freely into your life. Beloved, wealth is not conjured from nothing. It is called forth from the invisible realm where all things already exist in divine substance. And the spoken sentence is the bridge between the unseen and the seen, the command that pulls riches from spirit into matter, from idea into experience. This is why millionaires, conscious or not, often speak with unwavering conviction about money. They have, at some level, stumbled upon this principle. But Florence taught us to use it deliberately, spiritually, and without fear, ensuring that wealth arrives not as fleeting gain, but as enduring divine supply under grace and in perfect ways. See yourself now standing before that great vault. You are not a beggar knocking at heaven's door. You are the rightful heir to infinite riches, clothed in divine authority. The banker within waits with a knowing smile, listening for your word. As you speak the millionaire's sentence, watch the gates unlock and treasures flow like golden rivers into your hands, not in chaos or struggle, but in divine order. Each coin, each opportunity, each resource that arrives is stamped with heaven's seal, declaring, "This belongs to you by right of spiritual law." When you grasp this truth, fear vanishes, doubt dissolves, and lack becomes an impossibility. You no longer wonder if wealth will come, it must. You no longer question if you are worthy, you are. The millionaire sentence aligns you with divine substance so completely that nothing can stand between you and your supply. From this moment, speak it with faith, speak it with joy, speak it as one issuing royal command, and watch as the unseen opens its vaults and crowns you in visible, overflowing prosperity. Beloved soul, having seen how the millionaire's sentence is the golden key that unlocks heaven's vaults, it is now time to lift your own voice and step into the current of divine law through spoken declarations. These are not idle affirmations or timid hopes whispered into the air. They are decrees spoken from the throne of spiritual authority, carrying the same creative power that formed galaxies and summoned stars into existence. Florence Scovel Shinn revealed that every word you speak is a command to the unseen forces of spirit, which rush to fulfill it with mathematical precision. If you have ever wondered why your wealth has seemed delayed, it is not because divine supply has failed, but because the command has not been issued in the language of dominion. Tonight, you will speak as a ruler of your reality, not a servant of fear. Take a deep breath and imagine yourself standing in the presence of infinite spirit, a vast, radiant field of golden light that shimmers with the substance of all wealth. Every possibility, every resource, every channel of supply is swirling here, awaiting the sound of your word to take form. Your voice is not separate from this light. It is born of it, and as you speak, it echoes through eternity with a resonance heaven cannot deny. Now, slowly and deliberately, speak this first declaration with full faith. My supply is endless, inexhaustible, and immediate, and it comes to me under grace in perfect ways. Let these words roll from your tongue like molten gold. Picture them traveling out into the spiritual ethers, setting into motion divine currents that draw streams of abundance from every direction. Imagine bank accounts swelling, debts dissolving, opportunities converging, all without toil or force, but through the effortless activity of divine law responding to your decree. Continue with the next declaration, steady and unwavering. God is my unfailing supply, and large sums of money come to me quickly, under grace, in perfect ways. As you speak, see yourself holding out open hands beneath a heavenly waterfall of provision. Money flows to you not in drips or trickles, but in a rushing, unstoppable river. It comes from expected sources and surprising avenues alike, for spirit is not limited by channels known to man. Feel the certainty that these sums are already prepared, already moving toward you, magnetized by the authority of your word. Pause here and let gratitude fill your heart like sunlight spilling into a darkened room. Gratitude is not an afterthought. It is a force multiplier in spiritual law. It tells the universe that you have already received, sealing your declaration in the substance of faith. Whisper softly, I give thanks that all my needs are met abundantly and effortlessly. I live in divine prosperity now. See golden rays spreading outward from you, touching every area of your life, home, health, business, relationships, turning lack into surplus, struggle into ease, and uncertainty into divine order. Florence said, the invisible forces are ever working for man, who is always pulling the strings himself, though he does not know it. These declarations are the strings you pull, consciously, deliberately, and without resistance. They do not beg heaven for a blessing. They command it as your rightful inheritance. When you speak them, the unseen world rearranges itself. People, circumstances, ideas, and resources begin to shift like pieces on a divine chessboard, moving into positions that deliver your wealth swiftly and miraculously. Beloved, continue to speak these words with rhythm and conviction. Do not rush. Let them saturate the air and seep into the depths of your subconscious mind, where spiritual law engraves them as unshakable commands. As you repeat them daily, morning and night, you are not merely practicing affirmation. You are reshaping reality, aligning every particle of your existence with infinite riches. From this moment, you are no longer hoping for prosperity. You are speaking it into being, and it must obey. Beloved, now that your voice has begun to echo through the halls of the invisible, now that the divine machinery of spirit has stirred in response to your spoken decree, let us deepen the rhythm, expand the vibration, and speak yet again from the seat of spiritual dominion. For wealth is not a fleeting visitor. It is a resident presence that remains where the word is continually honored, declared, and affirmed. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that repetition is not redundancy. It is reinscription, the engraving of truth upon the subconscious, until it becomes the living pattern through which divine law expresses itself with unwavering accuracy. So let your voice become the sculptor of your financial future, carving into spiritual substance the form of a life that overflows with wealth, ease, and divine surprise. Begin with this declaration, slow and sure. I give thanks that I am rich, well, and happy. Divine abundance flows to me now, freely and joyously. As these words leave your lips, feel them landing like seeds upon the fertile soil of the subconscious, where the night gardener of spirit tends them into harvest without strain or struggle. Picture yourself surrounded by signs of this truth. Checks arriving unexpectedly, business flowing effortlessly, gifts appearing with perfect timing, all bathed in the joy of divine ease. Speak again, and let each word settle deeper. I am one with the infinite riches of the universe. I draw them to me irresistibly with magnetic power. Hear that, magnetic power. You are not chasing, not striving, not grasping. You are radiating a frequency that commands supply to gather itself around you. Imagine money, opportunity, favor, and blessing drawn to you as iron to a magnet, unable to resist the pull of your spoken word. Florence knew and taught that the law of attraction begins with spiritual vibration, and nothing sets that vibration in motion more powerfully than a declaration spoken with feeling, with certainty, with deep inner knowing. Now breathe, center your soul, and declare, all that is mine by divine right now comes to me in great avalanches of abundance, under grace and in perfect ways. Let the imagery of this wash over you, great avalanches of abundance, not trickles, not barely enough, but overflowing torrents, divine surges of prosperity that cannot be stopped or delayed. The law does not ask if you are ready. It only waits for you to speak as if you already are. Florence wrote, "Man must prepare for the thing he has asked for when there isn't the slightest sign of it in sight." This is the secret of these declarations. They are spoken not in reaction to evidence, but in advance of it. They are proof that you believe what Spirit has already decreed, that abundance is yours, and all that remains is its appearance in form. Speak now as one who no longer doubts. Everything I need is already prepared. I walk in divine wealth, guided, provided for, and prospered beyond my wildest dreams. Feel how the energy of your spoken word rises now, not as frantic hope, but as calm authority. You are not casting empty wishes into the dark. You are issuing orders into the light, and that light is obeying. Repeat again with strength. Unexpected doors fly open. Expected doors remain open. Every step I take is blessed with divine increase. These are not wishes. They are prophecies spoken into matter, and heaven rushes to fulfill them the moment they are uttered. Beloved, never again let your mornings begin in worry, or your nights end in fear. From this day forward, let your mouth be filled only with the language of wealth, the vocabulary of divine inheritance. Speak these declarations daily, not mechanically, but as one forging gold with every breath. Speak them when you rise. Speak them before you sleep. Speak them even when the outer world has not yet caught up to your inner decree. For the word must always go before the manifestation, and when spoken in faith, it cannot fail. Beloved soul, to anchor this truth firmly within you, let me share with you the story of a woman who walked into Florence Scovel Shinn's world, weighed down by poverty, despair, and a belief that she was destined for struggle. This woman had tried every worldly avenue to improve her finances: tireless work, countless sacrifices, endless saving, and yet the more she struggled, the further wealth seemed to drift from her grasp. She came to Florence not as one seeking casual advice, but as a soul crying out for deliverance from a life of relentless lack. Florence did not tell her to work harder, hustle longer, or bow to the tyranny of chance. Instead, she gave her a sentence, a simple yet spiritually charged decree that carried the full weight of divine law. God is my unfailing supply, and large sums of money come to me quickly, under grace, in perfect ways. Florence instructed her not merely to think it, not to write it timidly in a journal, but to speak it aloud daily with faith, with rhythm, and with unwavering conviction. At first, the woman struggled. Her voice trembled, her mind whispered doubts. How could this be true when my pockets are empty, my bills are mounting, and I have no prospects in sight? But Florence, firm in the knowing of spiritual law, said to her, "It is not your task to know how the supply will appear. Your only work is to declare it and trust that Infinite Spirit is already moving to fulfill it." So the woman obeyed. Each morning upon waking, she spoke the sentence with as much faith as she could muster. Each night before sleep, she declared it again, even when appearances screamed the opposite. Days passed, then weeks, and though outwardly nothing seemed to shift, inwardly her spirit began to rise. She noticed herself standing taller, speaking with more confidence, feeling an inner richness that no outward circumstance could explain. And then, as if heaven had been holding back a floodgate until her word had fully aligned with divine law, miracles began to cascade into her life. A long-forgotten investment resurfaced with multiplied returns. Unexpected inheritances appeared from distant relatives she had not seen in decades. Business opportunities unfolded effortlessly, bringing in wealth far beyond what she had ever imagined possible. The woman who had once feared poverty now lived in a continual overflow of prosperity, traveling the world, supporting causes dear to her heart, and blessing others as freely as Spirit had blessed her. When she returned to Florence in gratitude, she said, "It was not toil that made me wealthy. It was not struggle or clever schemes. It was that one sentence, spoken with faith, that changed everything. When I stopped asking and started declaring, money came like a river." Beloved, this is not an isolated story. It is a demonstration of divine law that is available to you in this very moment. The universe does not withhold wealth from some and grant it to others by whim. The difference lies only in the word spoken. Speak lack, and lack multiplies. Speak abundance, and abundance answers without fail. What happened for that woman can and will happen for you. When you speak the Millionaire's sentence with conviction, you set into motion the same unseen forces that transformed her life. Infinite Spirit is impartial. It responds only to faith and decree. Begin today. Declare without wavering, "God is my unfailing supply, and large sums of money come to me quickly, under grace, in perfect ways." Do not concern yourself with the how or the when. Speak it, believe it, and know that even now, rivers of divine provision are gathering, preparing to rush into your life in ways more miraculous than you have dared to dream. Beloved soul, now that you have heard the living testimony of one transformed by the spoken word, it is time for you to step into the same river of abundance, not by hoping for change, but by activating it here and now in the realm of spirit. For Florence Scovel Shinn taught that man can only receive what he sees himself receiving. The subconscious mind, which governs all outer conditions, responds not to idle wishing, but to vivid images of faith impressed upon it with clarity and authority. This visualization is not daydreaming, it is spiritual architecture. As you engage with it fully, you will build within the invisible the mansion of wealth and prosperity that must, by law, appear in your visible world. Close your eyes and allow the breath of infinite spirit to fill you. Imagine yourself standing in a vast and radiant hall, its ceiling glittering like a sky of living gold. This is not a place of fantasy. It is the treasury of divine supply prepared for you since before the world began. Columns of light stretch upward, and before you, great doors stand tall and gleaming, marked with your name. You approach these doors, not as a beggar hoping for a morsel, but as a royal heir to unlimited riches. As your hand touches the golden handle, you speak the millionaire's sentence. God is my unfailing supply, and large sums of money come to me, quickly, under grace, in perfect ways. Instantly, the doors swing wide, and you are flooded by a river of light that feels alive with divine energy. This light carries every form of wealth you have ever needed: money in abundance, opportunities divinely timed, ideas that blossom into prosperity, connections that bring elevation, peace, and freedom. Feel the air vibrate as vaults within this hall open one by one, each revealing overflowing treasures that have been awaiting only your decree. You see angels and unseen helpers moving swiftly, organizing these blessings into perfect order for delivery into your earthly experience. Now picture yourself receiving this wealth with open hands and a heart filled with gratitude. See your bank accounts multiplied beyond measure, every debt dissolved as if it never existed. Imagine yourself walking through life with an aura of ease and confidence, blessing others freely because your own supply is endless and immediate. Hear the voices of those you have been able to help: family, friends, strangers transformed by your generosity, and know that this ripple of good continues expanding far beyond what your mind can calculate. Feel this truth anchoring in your spirit. You are not striving for riches, you are aligned with them. The flow of divine abundance is not something you chase, it is something you allow. Wealth does not hesitate or struggle to find you. It is magnetized to your spoken word. It is drawn irresistibly to the frequency of your faith. With every breath, this river of supply grows stronger, sweeping away every remnant of lack, carrying you effortlessly into a new reality where prosperity is as natural as breathing. Finally, declare silently within: I am one with the infinite riches of spirit. I live in divine abundance now, and wealth flows to me freely and endlessly. As you hold this image, feel your subconscious mind receiving it like a seed planted deep within fertile soil. Know that unseen forces have already begun their work, arranging circumstances, aligning opportunities, and summoning provision to fulfill what you have just seen and spoken. When you open your eyes, carry this vision with you, for it is more than imagination. It is a spiritual blueprint that divine law is even now bringing into visible manifestation. Beloved soul, you have now been prepared to receive the heart of this teaching, the one sentence that has lifted countless souls from limitation into a life of overflowing wealth. This is not a phrase crafted by human cleverness, nor a slogan of fleeting motivation. It is a decree birthed in divine wisdom, a sentence alive with spiritual authority, carrying the creative vibration of truth itself. Florence Scovel Shinn declared it to those who came to her empty-handed and desperate, and through its power, they walked away transformed, clothed in abundance they once believed impossible. Today, that same word is handed to you, not as theory, not as inspiration, but as an instrument of spiritual law that, once spoken in faith, cannot fail to deliver its promise. The sentence is this: God is my unfailing supply, and large sums of money come to me quickly, under grace, in perfect ways. Speak it now, slowly, deliberately, allowing its rhythm to saturate your soul. Every word is a spiritual key. The phrase, "God is my unfailing supply," tears away the illusion that your wealth depends on human channels alone. It anchors your prosperity in the eternal source that never diminishes, never withholds, and never errs. When you say these words, you shift your dependence from the uncertainty of worldly effort to the absolute certainty of divine provision. The next words, large sums of money, break the silent agreement you have made with limitation. They announce to the universe that you are ready to receive not in drips or crumbs, but in great measures that align with your divine inheritance. The word quickly commands speed, reminding you that spirit is not bound by human calendars or delays. It works in the eternal now, and when you decree in faith, manifestations can appear in hours, days, or weeks in ways that defy material reasoning. Then comes, under grace, the holy seal of divine order. This ensures that every dollar, every opportunity, every channel of wealth that flows to you is free from struggle, free from harm, free from manipulation. It arrives clothed in blessing, untouched by fear or scarcity, bringing only good to you and to all it touches. Finally, in perfect ways, declares that infinite intelligence knows exactly how to deliver your supply. You need not map out the details, chase after opportunities, or strain to control outcomes. Divine Mind is already orchestrating the most seamless, miraculous pathways to bring wealth into your hands. When this sentence is spoken not as a timid hope, but as an unshakable decree, it sends forth a command to spiritual law that must be obeyed. Angels of provision are dispatched. Unseen currents of opportunity begin flowing toward you. Divine ideas spark in your consciousness, and doors swing open with effortless grace. Florence witnessed this countless times. Men and women who had faced bankruptcy, foreclosure, and financial ruin began speaking these words daily. And within weeks, inheritances surfaced, forgotten debts were repaid, careers blossomed, and money streamed in from avenues they could never have imagined. Beloved, the same law that transformed their lives stands ready to transform yours. This sentence is not reserved for the fortunate few. It is a spiritual key entrusted to all who dare to speak it with faith. Begin declaring it now. Let it rise in your heart like a song of victory. Whisper it as you wake, speak it as you walk, declare it before you sleep. God is my unfailing supply, and large sums of money come to me quickly, under grace, in perfect ways. As these words roll from your lips day after day, they will carve new channels in your subconscious mind, uprooting beliefs of poverty and planting seeds of divine abundance. And by law, by the eternal decree of spirit, the harvest must appear. Soon you will look upon your life with awe and say, as so many before you have said, "Indeed, this one sentence has made me rich in every way." Beloved soul, now that the sentence has been placed into your hands like a gleaming jewel of divine wisdom, let us go deeper still and uncover the law that makes this one phrase so powerful and unstoppable. For every miracle rests upon law, and spiritual law is as exact, as unchanging, and as unfailing as the law of gravity. You may not see it with your natural eyes, but it moves the substance of your world with precise obedience to the word you speak in faith. Florence Scovel Shinn often said, "You must act as if you had already received." This is not pretense, it is alignment with spiritual law. The moment you declare, "God is my unfailing supply, and large sums of money come to me quickly, under grace, in perfect ways," you are doing more than uttering sounds. You are sending a royal decree into the unseen, and that decree activates the law of assumption and expectancy. Job 22:28 declares, "Thou shalt also decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee." Notice the order. It is not established before the decree. It is established because of the decree. The law listens not to silence, not to vague wishes, but to spoken authority. This law functions like an invisible architect, taking the blueprint of your words and translating them into structure, substance, and supply. When you speak words of fear, doubt, or limitation, the architect faithfully builds walls that keep your wealth out of reach. But when you speak words of power, rooted in truth and expectation, the architect goes to work constructing bridges of opportunity, opening doors of favor, and directing rivers of abundance straight into your life. Spiritual law does not reason, debate, or delay. It simply fulfills the command it has been given. Think of it like planting a seed. You cannot see the forces at work beneath the soil, but the law of growth is unfailing. The seed germinates, roots deepen, stems reach upward, and in time, a harvest appears. The soil does not judge whether the seed is worthy. It only reproduces according to what has been planted. In the same way, the subconscious mind and the law of spirit accept every word you speak as a seed. Declare poverty, and it must grow. Declare wealth, and wealth must come forth. The difference is not in the soil of the universe, but in the seed you choose to plant with your tongue. Florence knew this well and taught that spiritual law is like a boomerang. What you send out in thought and word returns to you with astounding accuracy. The millionaire's sentence works because it plants a seed of divine certainty, commanding the law to return large sums of money to you swiftly and harmoniously. There is no pleading in this law, no waiting on distant approval from heaven. God has already approved your abundance. The law has already been set in motion. The moment you speak the decree, the manifestation begins in the unseen, and the timing of its appearance is determined only by the strength and constancy of your faith. Beloved, never again think of wealth as luck or fate. Never again believe that some are blessed while others are not. The law is impartial. The law is exact. The law answers every decree, whether born of faith or of fear. When you choose to speak with authority, to declare daily that God is your unfailing supply, and that large sums of money come to you quickly under grace, you are bending the invisible currents of reality itself to deliver what is already yours by divine right. Speak the word, believe it fully, and watch as spiritual law fulfills it with precision and abundance beyond anything your human reasoning could have devised. Beloved soul, even as you grasp this truth and begin to wield the millionaire's sentence like a scepter of divine authority, there is a cunning adversary that often creeps in quietly, attempting to rob you of your harvest before it appears. This adversary is not a person, nor is it some outside force plotting against you. It is resistance and doubt, subtle and persistent, whispering in the shadows of your mind. This is too simple. It won't work for me. I've said the words, but nothing is happening. These whispers are the remnants of the old self, the false beliefs, inherited fears, and mental habits of limitation that have been impressed upon you for years. They will rise not because divine law has failed, but because the old patterns are dying. And like all fading illusions, they make noise before their final breath. Florence Scovel Shinn taught us that faith is not built in comfort, it is built in repetition. When the visible world contradicts your spoken word, when the evidence appears unchanged, it is not a sign to stop speaking. It is the very moment you must speak louder. Every declaration you make is like striking a chisel against a stone wall of resistance. At first, the wall seems unmoved, solid, unbreakable. But with every strike, unseen cracks form, old structures weaken, and eventually, with one final word of faith, the wall collapses, revealing the treasure hidden behind it all along. One of Florence's students was a man on the brink of financial ruin. He had lost everything: his job, his home, his reputation. In the world's eyes, he was finished, but Florence told him, "You must not speak from the ruins of your past. You must declare the riches of your divine future. Keep saying the words even when you see nothing, for the law has heard you and must deliver." And so, this man, though bankrupt, began each day declaring with unwavering tone, "God is my unfailing supply, and large sums of money come to me quickly, under grace, in perfect ways." Weeks passed with no sign of change. Yet he persisted. Months went by and still no wealth appeared. But his faith was growing. His words were chiseling away at the invisible wall of resistance. Then suddenly, like a dam breaking after relentless pressure, an unexpected opportunity arose. One divine idea that opened a door to financial overflow. The man not only recovered every loss, but multiplied his fortune far beyond his former state. This is the power of repetition. Spiritual law never ignores a decree. Every word spoken in faith is stored in the invisible until it gathers enough spiritual momentum to burst forth into form. Doubt delays this process, fear weakens it, but repetition accelerates it. When you feel resistance, speak again. When your mind says, "It's not working," declare with even greater force, "It is already done. I live in divine abundance now." Faith is not measured by comfort. It is measured by persistence when the senses cry out in contradiction. Beloved, understand this deeply. The universe is not testing you. God is not withholding to see if you are worthy. The moment you speak, your decree is fulfilled in spirit. The only work left is to hold your faith steady until the outer matches the inner truth. Like a seed beneath the soil, your words are germinating in silence. You do not dig up a planted seed each day to check its progress. You water it with belief and allow it to break through in its perfect season. So it is with wealth declared through the spoken word. From this day forward, make repetition your shield and sword. Morning and night, speak the millionaire sentence without fail. When fear rises, respond with faith. When doubt knocks, answer with decree. With every repetition, your subconscious mind is reprogrammed, aligning with divine law, and once aligned, nothing can stop the manifestation of your riches. The treasure is already yours. Stand firm, speak boldly, and soon the invisible will become visible, and you will say with wonder, "It worked, and it could never have failed." Beloved soul, now that you understand the necessity of repetition and the certainty of spiritual law, we must turn to a profound truth. You cannot speak wealth while identifying yourself as poor, and you cannot decree abundance while secretly believing yourself unworthy of it. The spoken word does not merely issue commands to the universe, it reveals the identity you are willing to inhabit. If you wish to walk as a millionaire in spirit, you must first speak as one, think as one, and ultimately become one in consciousness before wealth can manifest permanently in your outer world. Florence Scovel Shinn wrote, "Never voice lack, limitation, or fear, for by your words you are condemned, and by your words you are justified." Consider this carefully. Every casual statement you make about money is not just communication, it is a decree that spiritual law fulfills. When you say, "I can't afford this," the law echoes it back as truth in your experience. When you say, "Money is hard to come by," the invisible responds by making it so. You may pray for riches in the morning but cancel that prayer by voicing doubt in the afternoon. The tongue can only serve one master. It must align fully with faith, or else it betrays you to fear. To align your speech with millionaire identity, you must cleanse your vocabulary of every word that contradicts divine abundance. This means no longer joking about being broke, no longer confessing how tight things are, no longer repeating family curses of lack passed down through generations. Instead, you begin to speak as one already crowned with prosperity, even before your senses confirm it. This is not arrogance or deception. It is faith speaking its reality before sight. Imagine a royal heir who has not yet ascended to the throne. Though he has not worn the crown in public, he is trained to speak, walk, and carry himself as king long before the coronation. He does not call himself a servant. He does not live as a pauper. Every word he speaks, every decision he makes, reflects his true position as ruler in waiting. So must you begin to speak, not as one seeking wealth from afar, but as one whose fortune is certain, whose inheritance is already secured in the vaults of spirit. Begin declaring now with authority, I am one with the infinite riches of the universe. Wealth flows to me naturally and abundantly. Every word I speak establishes my prosperity. Speak this not once, but as a continual rhythm of life. When asked about your finances, do not describe limitation. Describe the flow of divine supply already moving toward you. When you think about your future, do not speak of fear or uncertainty. Speak of overflowing opportunity, doors opening in miraculous timing, and wealth multiplying under grace. Florence told the story of a woman who shifted from defeat to victory simply by changing her everyday language. For years, she spoke of being always unlucky with money, and as law would have it, misfortune followed her like a shadow. When Florence taught her to replace these words with, I am divinely guided, and wealth flows to me from every direction, her entire life transformed. Opportunities once closed swung open, unexpected checks arrived, and within months she was living in abundance previously unimaginable. Beloved, every time you speak, you are writing a script for your future. The words that pass your lips become the structure in which you live. If you wish to dwell in wealth, you must build its palace with speech that matches its glory. From this day forth, reject every utterance of limitation. Let your tongue become a river of wealth-conscious words. Speak as a millionaire already enthroned, and soon the outer world will conform to the identity you have boldly claimed. Spiritual law cannot deny one who speaks as truth itself. Beloved soul, you have walked through revelation, law, testimony, and truth. You have received the millionaire's sentence, not as an empty phrase, but as a divine instrument forged in the fires of spiritual authority. You now hold in your spirit a key that unlocks every vault of supply, a sword that severs the lie of lack, and a decree that commands the very substance of your world to respond in abundance. But knowledge without declaration is powerless. Understanding without expression is dormant. So I now charge you, not gently, but with holy boldness, to rise and speak as one who knows that all of heaven's riches await the voice that dares to claim them. You must no longer tiptoe through your days hoping for provision. You must no longer whisper wishes into the wind or wait for signs that you are worthy. You must stand in the full stature of your spiritual inheritance and declare, I am now the millionaire spoken by divine mind. My wealth is established. My supply is unstoppable. My prosperity is the outworking of spiritual law. Say it again and again until every fiber of your being believes it. For what you consistently declare, you ultimately become. Let this be your practice. For the next 40 days, without interruption, rise each morning and speak the millionaire's sentence aloud. Do not judge by appearances. Do not look for proof before you speak. Your word is the proof. Your decree is the cause, and the effect must follow. Say it with conviction. God is my unfailing supply, and large sums of money come to me quickly, under grace, in perfect ways. Say it as you prepare for the day. Say it when fear knocks. Say it when nothing seems to move. And say it again when everything begins to shift in your favor, as it surely will. Do not underestimate the power of this consistent decree. What begins as invisible becomes visible. What begins as repetition becomes realization. Each time you speak, you are imprinting your subconscious, activating spiritual law, and drawing your riches closer through the law of vibrational agreement. There will come a moment, perhaps quiet and unannounced, when something within you shifts, and you will no longer be speaking to become wealthy, but as one who already is. That is the moment your world will bend. That is the moment miracles rush in. That is the moment money, ideas, and divine appointments surge toward you like a tide ordained by heaven itself. Florence Scovel Shinn knew this power intimately. She saw it work for the poor, the broken, the hopeless. And it worked not because they were special, but because they spoke the word. You now join that line of souls who no longer hope for supply, they command it. Who no longer wonder if they are chosen, they choose to speak as the chosen. You are one of them now. The millionaire's sentence is no longer a secret you heard, it is a truth you carry, and the world will respond. I leave you with this charge. Speak as one who creates. Speak as one who commands. Speak as one whose riches cannot be denied. Heaven waits for your word. The law waits for your voice. Your prosperity has ears, and your decree is the trumpet that calls it forth. This is your moment, this is your sentence, and this is your wealth. Beloved soul, we now come to the holy seal of this divine revelation, a closing prayer, not of pleading or uncertainty, but of absolute authority and thanksgiving. This prayer is the final decree that fixes your word in the unseen, where it cannot fail to bear fruit. As Florence Scovel Shinn taught, a man's word is his wand filled with magic and power. So now, with all hesitation stripped away, with every remnant of lack dissolved, we speak this prayer as a royal command to spirit and as a song of gratitude to the source that never fails. Close your eyes and feel yourself surrounded by radiant golden light. This light is infinite spirit itself, rich with every resource, every opportunity, every sum of money you will ever need. Hear the silent hum of divine activity already arranging miracles in your favor. Angels of provision stand ready, unseen hands opening doors and forging paths where none existed before. Within this holy stillness, let your voice rise, steady and unwavering. Infinite Spirit, I praise you as the unfailing source of my abundance. I recognize that all wealth is already mine by divine inheritance, and I now speak it into visible form. I declare that large sums of money flow to me quickly, easily, and joyously, under grace and in perfect ways. I am divinely supplied, divinely prospered, and divinely blessed in all that I do. I cast out every thought of lack, every shadow of fear, every lie of limitation that has ever bound me. They are nothing, they have no power, and they dissolve now into the nothingness from which they came. In their place I plant the living word of truth. I am rich in mind, rich in spirit, rich in health, and rich in material supply. My life overflows with prosperity that blesses not only me but everyone I touch. Infinite Spirit, I give thanks for the rivers of wealth that now rush toward me, unstoppable and unending. I see every channel of supply opening wide. I see opportunities unfolding in divine timing. I see debts canceled, needs met, dreams fulfilled, and joy rising like a flood of golden light. I decree that this wealth is not fleeting. It is anchored in eternal law. It is sustained by divine order, and it grows greater and greater every day. And so it is. I release this word into the boundless activity of spirit, knowing it is heard, knowing it is fulfilled, knowing it cannot return void. I rest now in peace, for the decree has been made, and the manifestation is certain. I awaken to a new world, a world of divine riches, a life of unshakable abundance, and a destiny crowned with prosperity that glorifies the source of all good. Amen and amen. Beloved, let this prayer echo within you long after these words fade. Let it be the rhythm of your mornings, the seal of your nights, the constant music of your days. From this moment, your tongue shall never again speak lack. From this moment, your heart shall never again expect delay. From this moment, you are aligned with spiritual law, clothed in divine authority, and unstoppable in your prosperity. The millionaire's sentence is now etched in your soul, and wealth, by divine decree, must now rush to meet you.